Sam, what's the word?
Ism.
Ism.
A sponsor said I am suffering from the isms.
What is that?
I sponsor myself.
Where'd you hear that?
I heard it through the grapevine.
Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine half-hour variety hour featuring the collective voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am Alice, an alcoholic in Oakland, California.
Hey, Alice. Hey, everybody. I'm Sam, an alcoholic in Palm Springs, California.
Hey, Sam.
What's going on in Alice's world?
Man, life is amazing. You know, one of the things that I believe is that if the only thing you get from Alcoholics Anonymous is you don't drink, you got robbed. The truth is that we're always standing in our blessings because we're sober today.
You are absolutely right. I want to share with you something that happened to me this morning. When I sat down, I saw I had a bunch of text messages, and someone sent me a photograph of a painting in a church. Said, I have a memory of our early years when we went to the meeting at the Pumpkin Church on Friendly. There was a picture on the wall of Jesus. You said you liked it because he was smiling, and there weren't that many pictures of him smiling. I liked it too. I took a picture of it and framed it. It's been in my room all these years.
Wow.
It's a beautiful reflection and reminder of his love and care for me. I think of you often when I look at it, and I'm so grateful for our recovery walk.
Wow.
We may never know how our words may touch or inspire a person, so I wanted you to know how much comfort and joy I have received as a result of your heartfelt sharing. That got me. I've got chills right now because this is the twisted part of it. I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
And that painting still struck me, and my comment about it in that meeting all those years ago stuck with her. You know, it's a rarity that we get to know how we actually affected someone's life.
And the truth is that for me, Sam, sometimes I say things, I have no recollection of having said them.
Yes.
None. And it was meaningful to the other person. And then I have to wonder, was that really me? Or was I just a vessel?
Yeah.
Yeah, what a lovely story. I love her, and I want you to write her back and tell her that she touched me.
I will do that. And then I'm going to tell her that she's on the podcast.
Yes, listen up, join us. One of the things I love about this opportunity to be on the podcast is the ability to meet all these people that otherwise I would not have met. And today's guest is Anita S. from Florida. She's not representing Florida today. She is representing Guyana. And we're also going to include her in our listener submitted hashtag heard in a meeting. So I'm excited to have her participate in that as well.
And you hear that, Don? It's hashtag heard in a meeting, not pound sign.
Not pound sign, Grandpa.
Hi, folks. We need your stories on the individual traditions. Pick one and write about your or your group's experience with it. How has a tradition played a part in your life? How has your understanding of a tradition changed? What is a personal experience where a tradition played a part? Visit aagrapevine.org for guidelines and to submit.
Grateful Alcoholic Anita. Grateful to be here sober today. And I personally attend meeting because I do not want to become complacent.
Anita, what was going on in your life, in your mind, when you decided that you needed to get sober?
Oh, chaos. Chaos was what was going on in my life. However, I didn't see the chaos. And I honestly didn't come here because I thought you guys were going to stop me from drinking. I really thought you guys were going to teach me how to drink like a lady.
That's right.
So I could get back to New York and be with that ex-husband and fix my relationship.
Yeah.
But I knew that in my head, in my mind, I thought I was going to drink again. So I wasn't being honest in the sense that I want to stop drinking or, quit alcohol or anything. I just wanted to control it.
When you say chaos, what did that look like? Because a lot of us don't recognize chaos.
For me, the chaotic part of it is having conversation with myself saying, you're not going to drink today, but I didn't recognize it as chaos, right? And what happens after I put that drink, I could never stop at one. I will count how many. And then I drank a lot at the airport. 80% of the time, I didn't even get on the flight. I was still stuck in
What?
New York.
Oh, wow.
They were taking me off the airport because I was a nuisance in a psych unit, all tied up, or like they're restraining me because I was a very Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of person. I
Yep.
get very, very angry.
Yeah.
My life, my marriage, chaos. We physically have altercation every time I drink, broken relationships. So there was a lot of it.
You're the first person that I've talked to that talks about missing their flight. Do you remember ever hearing them calling your name and thinking, I don't care?
No, for that incident, I had 20 minutes aboard the flight when I sat by the bar. The next thing you
20
know,
minutes?
20 minutes. But for me, I didn't see a problem with it.
Right.
And even after all of that, it took me about a year before I finally came into the rooms of Alcoholic Anonymous after that incident. So I have several, but that one I keep at the forefront of my mind for the simple fact, if I ever think it's a great idea to pick up that first drink, that's the first thought that come to me. It's what happened when I pick up that first drink.
That's it. And it's not a sober mind that's making that choice to drink the next drink.
You're talking about airports. One time I got into Trinidad and not knowing how I got out of New York.
Yeah.
The stewardess woke me up and said, you're here. And I'm like, here, where am I? They said Trinidad. And I'm like, how did I end up in Trinidad? So, yeah, I think I had a problem.
I think
I love you for saying, even after all of that, thought that I could manage and control this.
that's it.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I could just drink less.
Most definitely. That was why I came in. But it was something in the room that kept me hooked. It was seeing that laughter and the smiling. And they said, keep coming to meetings. So I keep coming to meetings,
Yeah.
And then gradually, the obsession for that drink was with me. I went to treatment. And after I got out of treatment, I always consider that first meeting I walk into my meeting for the simple fact that I had a choice. I had a choice whether to go to that meeting or just go on my merry way.
Yeah.
And it's a clubhouse in South Florida that I got sober. And one of the meetings called New Hope Group, and the word hope stand out to me. And I went to that meeting and, I did certain things that you guys said in the room, like get a home group and get a service commitment, which was making coffee, but I wouldn't get the sponsor. I'm like, no, I can't trust a woman. They're out to get me kind of thing.
Now, I've burnt my whole life to the ground and my life is on fire, but I think it's asking too much.
I knew who I wanted to ask, but I still had that reservation kind of thing, But just by going to a lot of meetings, I did everything that you guys suggested, stay away from people, places, and things, which I lived in a halfway house. And at the age when I came in was 46. So everyone in the halfway house in their 20s. So it wasn't really ideal for me. And I had every day I wanted to leave, but I didn't. I did those things by practice. Yeah, I had to. And that's when I realized I had the gift of desperation, but my mind didn't think so. My action is what showed me that.
That's right.
Well, that speaks directly to that. I can't think myself into this. I have to act myself into this.
Yes.
Trying to make me do this with my brain doesn't work.
No, not with this brain. My brain would tell me to go out there and rip and roll and my life is good.
Yeah.
But when I have the guidance of the members that was in their rooms, all of us were following some simple guides that's written out in a book. For me, it's the easier, softer way. As long as I don't put my little fingers inside of it, it goes very well. It normally goes very well until I start to take my will back.
And I don't even have to come in clear that I'm surrendered, because some people come in, they're already whooped. They know that they can never drink again. I came in thinking, I'm just passing through, people. I'm not going to be here with you guys. Look at you.
I'm going to learn to drink like a lady.
Yeah, I'm going to drink like a lady. And the truth is that I was already defeated. I was already whooped. I need to be here. I'm going to meet.
One of the things I heard, bring the body and the mind will follow. I went to a meeting and they stopped the meeting early. And next thing you know, I'm driving to a bar in a local town where my sister lives. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I didn't plan to drive there. My car drove itself, apparently.
Yeah.
But what kicked it off for me was people coming out of that bar and saying, hey, Anita, we haven't seen you in a long time. And I looked at them and I said, I'll see you guys later. And I got in the car and I drove back to Port St. Lucie, where I live, got my sponsor, got right into it because at that moment, it was a life and death situation for me.
So is that the moment that this changed from being I'm going to temper my drinking
Yes.
to I really need to do
Yes.
something drastic here?
I was at that crossroad. It was my crossroad. And my crossroad showed me the darkness by the people coming out of that bar. For me, I put it into that perspective by the individual coming out of a bar at 10:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
literal darkness, right? You couldn't see into the bar, but they could see out, right? And the little light that I was getting from just going to meetings and my service commitment that I had, making coffee, feeling a little belonging. And that got me, boy, I put on some skaters after I started doing them steps.
Anita, when was this?
My sobriety date is January 20th, 2018.
And so you got the sponsor.
Yes, I completed the step work. And one of the things she asked me, within 7 months, I was completed with my step work because I was committed when she says every Monday I had to be there. And it was right after my 4 p.m. meeting. So we did our step work right in the clubhouse. There was a room. So I had no excuse. I had no plans to leave. I couldn't skip out after the meeting, right? And we kept at it. And then she asked me we were finished, she asked me about sponsoring. And I said, no, no, no. I'm going to wait a year. I need to
Anything but
celebrate all of
that.
these things. Yes. And then she said, how about you let God take charge of this? And that's where I stopped talking. I stepped back. And within 2 weeks, I got 2 phone calls from two female. One of them, I had no idea who she was. Someone gave her my number, and another one I met in the room, and they asked me to sponsor them.
Yep.
I was coming out of a women's meeting, and both of them happened the same evening. And I said that was, the answer then, right? I should do it. And I did. I'm not saying they remain sober or anything like that. But when I was coming up to a year, I had gotten that part where I got tired because they were not doing the work, And it's like I was getting up to a point that, I give up on trying to help anyone or guide anyone. At my 1 year celebration, that feeling of love that I got, and people from different meetings show up, and the clubhouse had almost 200 people, and they were there for me to watch me get my 1 year medallion. I cried,
Oh, yeah.
and I picked up a sponsee. She's still sober today.
Yep.
And here I was thinking, I don't want to do the sponsoring, but that kept me going in the sense of, helping others. Because when I'm helping them, I'm helping myself. Doing the step work is like me doing it all over again. It's not about who can, but in working with others, it tells me what to do then. I don't have to pull anyone or force anyone. I don't have to do their sobriety for them. All I can do is tell them my story, help guide them on how I got to this side of it. And hopefully a little seed is planted, and then they will want to do the work. So I say I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have this second chance at life.
It sounds like you're helping people. I've got sponsees who make me want to be a better man.
It's like I keep this in my head. I can't guide someone and giving them suggestion on how to go about doing things, and I'm not willing to do it either. Then I'm a hypocrite. Don't ask someone to do something that you're not willing to do.
Yeah.
Even talking to another alcoholic, someone just calling me network. And it's not just the people in the fellowship. I have to utilize that for the people in my family.
Yes.
Because they're the one that I really, pounce on when I was active. Those were the one that I hurt the most. So,
I've heard you talk about all three sides of the triangle, right? You talked about when I got here, I did a lot of the meetings. Then in 7 months, I went through all the steps, right? That's the recovery side.
yes.
And then I heard you talk about, I didn't really want to sponsor, but I started doing that. And I would love to hear ways that you've been surprised about your ability. It's just one drunk to impact the lives of other alcoholics.
Oh man, service. It's service because I have to keep doing something different. And as long as it's in service, I'm good with it. So it started off just making coffee. Then it started taking meetings to detox when I was 6 months. I did a commitment for a year and a half. Then it moves on to other commitments below the group level. My first healthy relationship in my whole life was when I was 48 in sobriety. And I met my partner. We had a short relationship, but it was quality. It was very healthy. And then COVID happened and he passed away.
Mm.
And I felt I was robbed. And what I did after he passed away, I had even my company closed down that I was working for, and I lost the job. And all I could keep thinking is that God is forcing me because right after he passed, I went right back to work within 2 days. I never had that process, the time to grieve, right? And I said, God is doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. He allowed me to lose that job. I drove from Florida to California on a sabbatical road trip by myself.
That's a cross-country journey.
Yes. And then after that, I came home with an awakening and a new perspective on life and doing the things that my partner and I made. We made plans like traveling, going different parts of the world. And one of the places that I went back to was Guyana, my home country.
Hmm.
And I had a resentment because I was sexually abused as a child in Guyana. And I blame, the alcoholic thinking I had a resentment against the whole country.
The whole
And
country.
I'm like, I'm not going back there. I don't want to hear nothing from anyone, like that mind thinking. And I went back on a vacation, and while I was there, I was looking for an AA meeting. So I started messaging churches from Facebook and all of these things. I wanted to meet my AA family, right? So they couldn't direct me to an AA meeting. And I walked to the Salvation Army and I got a number. But by the time I returned to the state was when that person contacted me. And then I became aware they had one meeting in all of Guyana.
They had one AA meeting in the
One
country?
AA meeting in the country.
Wow.
And it was at one location and it would happen 5 times a week from Wednesday on to Sunday. So Monday and Tuesday, there was no meeting there. The person that called me, they told me they don't work in AA program, but they were getting me in touch with someone. Person from AA called me and we started chatting. I had this feeling, this gnawing feeling. I need to go to Guyana and do some sort of service. And I talked to my sponsor about it. Obviously, I still have a sponsor. I have to have a sponsor because Anita can't do this alone. I spoke to her about it and I said, I need to go back. For some reason, I'm feeling this and I'm going to go for 2 months. And that 2 months turned into over a year. I lived in Guyana. I got a job, first time working in the country that I left when I was 14 because I needed to pay my bills to do what I needed to do. A week into me being in Guyana, we started the second meeting because at that meeting, I noticed they didn't have anything representing the big book. And that's where recovery is, the first 164 pages.
Yeah.
So I said, what we need is a big book meeting, a big book study meeting, where we read paragraph by paragraph and we share on each paragraph. The meeting is still going on. It's called New Hope Group, like my first.
And there you go with hope.
Yes. I use the same name.
Perfect.
And on the Tuesday, I utilized that day for a women's meeting. They never had a women's meeting prior.
Yeah.
Those meetings are still ongoing. I'm not physically in Guyana, but we made them hybrid as about a year ago. So now I get to be a part of it.
Beautiful.
Still ongoing with service within the group and below the group level. It's sponsoring these women that is in Guyana. All I can see is the people that they will help.
Yeah.
That's how it continues, right? That's the gratifying part. The days when I get so overwhelmed because I'm so involved in so many different things, that's what I see. I see that they will carry the message and then the ones that will carry. For me, it's not about the hiccups that we have along the way or the old timers because AA has been in Guyana since 1969, but this is the first time that we finally had an intergroup. And June is when we had our first general service office, structure.
Yeah.
So all of this is happening within the past 2 years.
Mhm.
Man, the growth, like I get to witness and I get to see, that's where it's at.
You get to spur, and any one of us who's called to do something can step into the opportunity. That thing you talked about, that nagging feeling, that something. That something may be God that's leading us to do something. Thank you for answering the call.
Thank you guys for being here when I got here.
So powerful.
Yes.
What can we do to help people in the world?
For me, the way I lived when I was active, I have to do the opposite. And it doesn't come overnight. It's practice, and where it comes like a natural process. But they say, don't leave until the miracle happen, right? The miracle is still happening.
Don't leave before the miracle happens, and the miracle is still happening.
That's why I always say I'm blessed at this second chance.
Anita, if someone is experiencing some chaos in their lives, what might you share with them to help them find what you found?
Ooh, I will share certain things about what was chaotic for me, about me, my journey, and I will share something personal. It have to be personal. That's where the hope lies. Because when I hear hope, you hear hope. It gravitates from someone's voice and their emotions and their
I can
actions.
feel it.
So it have to be something personal. That was chaotic in my life. And trust me, I have a lot of them. So I just pick one of them and I will tell that.
It's fantastic. And we don't tell people what to do. We tell
Mhm.
people, this is my experience. This is what I did. Thank God for that, because I tell you one thing, if I had walked into these rooms and I had a finger wagging in my face telling me what I needed to do,
Absolutely not.
I walk right back out.
I mean, it's been so lovely to meet you. And I know that Don got an opportunity to meet you in New York, and he was so excited. Like it was a spiritual experience for him. And now that I've met you, I totally understand why. Thank you for
Absolutely.
being open and following the call.
But stick around.
It's time for hashtag heard in a meeting.
We received this email from David S. with a thought-provoking hashtag heard in a meeting. David writes, this one time, an early sponsor told me after listening to me complain about yet another bad day I'd had. I had a lot of them early on. Did you really have a bad day, or did you have a bad 5 minutes and stretch it out for the whole day? It's absolutely ruined bad days for me for over 35 years.
I love that because it's so funny. And I don't know if this is human nature or alcoholics. I will generalize a bad thing and make it really big, but I'll take a good thing and make it really small. Like, oh, I had a good moment, but oh, I had a bad day when I actually only had a bad moment.
Anita, does that speak to you?
Yeah, very early. I was at the fourth step. So I heard something at the meeting. Oh, it ruined the whole meeting. I couldn't focus on the meeting any longer. I just wanted to get back all the way home. I'm only thinking about this and I'm just creating a mountain. Called my sponsor. I told her what had happened. I just went on a tangent and then she shut me up and then she said, are you going to drink? And I said, no. So she said, okay, then. So, don't focus on it.
That's right.
I'm making something so huge out of something that was just a little small thing. And that's what my perspective of, for me, it made sense.
I totally get that. Mountain out of a molehill. That's exactly what I have done since childhood. Thankfully, awareness of that. Then I've got a choice of, am I going to feed this or am I going to let it go?
Is that the bondage of self?
Ooh, yeah.
When I take one moment and make it everything, and I'm just stuck in that one point of view, when there's a whole bigger perspective.
Most definitely. Yes. Bondage of self. Oh, that I'm going to keep that one down there.
Alice, will you read the next one?
Sam, we got another bit of listener feedback from Jerry C. in Peachland, British Columbia. He refers back to our history snippet in the March 31st, 2025 episode. We described an early Canadian meeting. It opens with a roll call of who stayed sober since the last meeting by shouting out yes or no. We wondered aloud if that custom is still practiced today.
And we got an answer.
Woohoo!
Jerry writes, I reread the locally produced Area 79 book, which captures some of the early AA history. Yes, indeed, the here, yes, no roll call is described. I know from a present day member living there that there is still one group in the Vancouver area that practices this procedure to this day. Keep up the good work. Thank you for your service. Jerry, thanks for writing with that.
There are a lot of meetings, at least in North America, where they'll say from the podium as a part of the introduction, I'm an alcoholic. Are there any other alcoholics present? And people will raise their hands. But I love the yes, no. I'm not going to drink because I'm going to have to go to that meeting and say no.
Anita, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real joy getting to
What
know
a
you.
joy.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Folks, after recording the show, we asked Anita to share how she uses Tradition 12 in her life. Her share is so topical, we want to include it here. Tradition 12. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
Tradition 12, it's about anonymity, the spiritual foundation of all our tradition, ever reminding us to place principles before personality. When I first heard this tradition, I thought it was just about not seeing people's name outside the rooms. But as I grew in the program, I learned it's much deeper. Anonymity is about humility. It's about setting aside ego, letting go of personal grievance, and choosing to live by spiritual principle, especially love and service. For me, this tradition come alive in one of the hardest places, my relationship with my mother. When I came into AA, I was filled with resentment. I didn't want to be around her. I didn't want to care. I had a list of reasons. Some of them in my mind was very, very valid. Some one I kept alive for the excuse of I can do this my way and you can't to tell me what to do. The big book tells us on page 66, resentment is the number one offender. It destroyed more alcoholics than anything else. And trust me, that way of thinking was destroying my life. All along, I'm just hurting myself. And then came Tradition 12, principle before personality. This meant letting go of my ideas of who she shouldn't be and embracing who she was. A woman with her own pain and her own journey. And that helped me in forgiving her for a lot of the resentment I carried. That helped me a lot. So I showed up, not for applause, not to fix the past, but to serve her quietly and humbly. I came on my effort to visit them for the Christmas holiday, and both my parents were sick and they couldn't do much for themselves. So I stayed and I packed all my things up, give them away, and I moved in with my parents. 2 weeks ago, my mother died. 2 Saturdays ago, she died. And I was able to tell her the night before she passed, thank you for allowing me to serve you when I didn't want to be in the room with her. That's what this tradition gave me, not just anonymity, but freedom from ego. My ego was running the whole thing. Healing and peace. Because when we choose principle over personality, we make space for God to work. And I got to be a part of that miracle with him. And this is what this tradition has helped me.
Wow.
Anita, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for that. The principle that I put before the personality is often the principle of love. I just such a beautiful share. And I'm so sorry to hear that you lost your mom. It's a life-changing experience.
It is. And
I was able to get to be a part of her life, even at the end, for 2 years, and she was getting worse and worse. But when I didn't think about that thought when I said those words, I didn't think about it. I was shocked after I said it because where did it come from? But it didn't come from me. It wasn't my thinking, but that's how I felt at that precise moment. And I was able to say those words. And the next day at 5:17 in the morning, she passed away. But I was able to say that. And for me, I find gratitude in that because I got a
Anita,
chance to be with her.
I get that so strongly. My mother died unexpectedly in February of 2020. The last time that I was with my mother face to face prior to her being hospitalized was just before Christmas in 2019. I surprised her. I showed up in a parking lot at a restaurant that she was meeting her swim club for lunch. And I'm sitting there waiting, and then she pulls up, and I get out of my car and start walking over, and she can't undo her seatbelt to get out of the car to come give me a hug. She's blubbering, and it was absolutely fantastic to get to give my mother that much joy, to know that our relationship was rock solid, and that I had I had all that because of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be there for our
Mhm.
mothers in ways that we
Yes.
wouldn't have been.
Because of Alcoholics
Yeah.
Anonymous.
Oh no. That's the only place for me. This is my salvation. This is where and it was just me getting honest with myself and admit the first, that first step. And oh man, after that it was um I realized as of lately, we say give me the courage, right? The serenity prayer about courage. And God will give you things will happen. I wouldn't have been able to deal with this, before sobriety.
That's
And I'm
right.
able to do these things. And that's where the courage, because if we don't have pain in our lives, we're never going to know how much we can grow and how courageous we can be. But we have to have that pain, and that's for me is where I find growth.
Thank you to everyone who supports this podcast with a subscription to the Grapevine magazine in print or in the Grapevine app. Your support makes the half-hour variety hour possible. I'm at the very wit's end. Cuckoo.
Tacked up on a corkboard in an AA meeting room.
For sale, wedding dress, size 8, worn once by mistake.
It's really not that funny.
Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole, we share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org, including our app and how to get in touch with us. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to know more about AA, visit aa.org or search online for Alcoholics Anonymous and your city.